Good stuff. Now, because it is Valentine's Day, we're clearly going to have a lot of Valentine's love talks, and we do our best here at CFRA and the Weekend Morning in particular to give you some advice or some lead you along the way information-wise. This morning, and we're going to kick off our Valentine's Day talks when it comes to being on the same page financially with your spouse. There's a survey done a couple of years ago that found that almost half of married couples said they had different investing styles than their spouses, and that about a quarter of couples fight over money. I tend to think that's almost, or maybe could be higher. But 98% of married couples think it's important to be on the same page financially as their partner. So there's a couple of different things that and different tips that you can keep in mind. And joining us to talk about those this morning is Josh Miszk, who's the VP of Investments for Advisor. Good morning, Josh.
Hey, good morning, Matt. How you doing?
Excellent. How are you this morning?
Good. Happy Valentine's Day.
Happy Valentine's Day to you as well. It's we're loving life here on the weekend morning. So first of all, Josh, let's talk about this for you. Is that obviously from your perspective, how important is it for couples to really be on the same page financially?
I think it's really important, and you mentioned there that you said a quarter of people getting arguments about it. You thought that was a little low. I thought the exact same thing when I read that. I thought, if a quarter think it's a little low, I bet about 3/4 out there are liars.
Yeah, almost, right?
Yeah. So no, I think it's really important, and it's one of those things where you want to be as open and honest as possible with your spouse, and talk about your goals with your spouse, and talk about how to achieve those goals, and it gets you on the same page and gets you to achieve those goals quicker.
And that's the biggest thing, right, Josh? I think is being on the same page and really getting to the point of or just being open about it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And now again, or part of it too could be that, right, you want to have, maybe you can dedicate some time to have, say, quote unquote, the talk, but you really, when you get to that point in your relationship, you want to be able to have that talk about finances, right?
Yeah. I think when it comes to times like this, you think talking about finances isn't the most fun dinner conversation. Mm-hmm. But when you can talk about your goals, the conversation can be a lot more fun. If you talk about how you want to retire or what that dream home that you want is going to be, the more that you have that conversation, the better you can visualize what those goals are. And where you really start to get a benefit is when you start talking about how you can achieve those goals. That'll make those goals seem less like a dream and more like a reality. And it also makes it a lot easier to get the ball rolling and start an investment plan. And then getting that plan started is a really positive experience for people. It's something that we see all the time once they start to actually contribute towards an investment goal or lock down an insurance plan. There's a real weight lifted off of people's shoulders.
And goal-wise, though, Josh, too, as well, it's not just about, right, you want to be on the same page, but it's still important to have some individual financial goals, but also some shared goals with your spouse as well, right?
Yeah, definitely. You may want to buy a car, but your spouse may have a more practical approach to what they want to do with their money, like pay off a mortgage first or something like that. Your unique approaches to goals and your spending habits is really what keeps a balance in how you get there. And there's a real good reason the two of you complement each other. What you want to do, I think, is understand what makes the other person happy when it comes to their goals, and embrace those differences by incorporating both of your perspectives into your plan. And you'll end up with a much stronger, more well-rounded plan that both of you can stand behind a lot easier.
How often do you think, again, Josh Miszk joining us is VP of Investments with Advisor, talking about couple goals when it comes to financial goals here on this Valentine's Day. Josh, how often do you think that couples should be talking about, right? Is it kind of once every few months, or how often should couples be updating goals, or should they be talking about their financial situation?
I think as often as possible. Like I mentioned earlier, when you're having a conversation that's more about a goal, it's a fun thing, and the more that you hash it out and the more that you talk about it, the clearer it becomes in both of your minds, and the more likely you're going to be on the same page with it. So I think when it comes to the goals discussion, have fun with it, and you can have that conversation a lot more often. When it comes to things like budgeting for it and actually meeting with somebody, you want to meet with somebody at least on an annual basis and talk about your goal and get an update of where you are from a progress perspective. But budgeting is kind of more that short-term approach that you take, and it's something that you want to do on an ongoing basis, say every month, and review where you're at. I think when it comes to couples and budgeting, it's important to build in both of your income and your goals when you decide on that budget ahead of time. But you want to really track your progress through it, and that's what I mean when you're thinking short-term. There's a lot of great apps out there that you can use to help track your budget, and you can even have some fun with short-term goals by finding kind of creative ways to keep yourselves on track. I know my wife and I will kind of say, if we keep under that budget, let's plan a dinner at the end of the month, kind of thing. So there's ways to kind of to make it a little more fun as well. But when it comes to that budget, it's a lot more of those short-term goals.
Yeah, absolutely. So all great tips. Now, okay, Josh, before you go, I want to ask, because the question we're asking people this morning is the best or worst Valentine's Day present that you've ever gotten or given. What are you thinking?
So from a giving perspective, I know my wife was talking a lot about how she liked to make waffles, and I got her a waffle maker, and I thought, oh, this is really special. She's going to love this waffle maker, and it was a bit of a flop, kind of not the most romantic gift to give to somebody on Valentine's Day. And waffle makers are really expensive too.
Yeah,
so
they're not cheap. Yeah.
No, they're not. So I cut a few corners and I found a discount one. But I got to say it's been a staple in our household, and we give waffles about once every 2 or 3 weeks. So it's really stood the test of time. Although not the best Valentine's gift.
You're still using it though, Josh. I think that's the biggest thing, right? You're still using it.
Yeah, we're still using it. It's a practical gift.
Yeah.
That's from my perspective. I thought practical is a good thing to do.
I feel like that's the guy answer though, right? It's a practical gift. We're still using it. So I love it. Josh Miszk, VP of Investments with Advisor. Thanks for joining us this morning, Josh. Appreciate it.
Yeah, Matt, thanks for having me.
Take care. So, again, lots of fun this morning with Josh, and appreciate him taking the time. And that's good, because you know what? That's true, right? That is the guy answer, though, that, you know what? You're using it. You're making waffles every 2 to 3 weeks. It's a practical gift, and yes, it may not be the most romantic